from the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Allbright.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight, a big show for you this evening. The Broncos, according to multiple reports, basically all reports, are acquiring Russell Wilson in a trade with the Seattle Seahawks. We'll go over the details of the trade, but first of all, Ben, my goodness, things have shifted ever so slightly.
Just a bit. The present for the Broncos looks a lot brighter. I think now that Russell Wilson is here, we don't need to talk about future anymore.
I think that's fair. All right, so
that's a joke about the rapper.
I was just going to let you have that, and then let's see if everybody else picked up on it. Mm-hmm. Of course, I knew exactly what you're talking about.
Because you're big in the rap game.
That's right, totally. I was like, say, what was his name again? No, I'm just kidding. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, Noah Fant.
A fifth rounder.
Also a fifth rounder, and they get Russell Wilson and a fourth rounder back. Grade the trade.
A+. I mean, you got a franchise caliber quarterback. You gave up also-ran players that you weren't going to keep. Shelby Harris is the big player going back the other direction, but you can replace his production. You know, Shelby was a great guy in the locker room, but you can replace leadership. With Noah Fant, I mean, Alberto had lapped him on the depth chart already before he got dinged up. With Drew Lock, he wasn't going to be the guy here. We knew that. And then as far as the draft picks go, I mean, what has Seattle done with draft picks over the last couple of years? In fairness, George Payton has done well with draft picks, so I wonder what could have been. But in the end of the day, I mean, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a 5 to get a 4 back. That's the price you pay for a franchise quarterback. I think that was perfectly fine.
Meanwhile, the Broncos still have 5 picks in the top 115.
That's what I was going to get is they still have 5 picks in the top 115 picks. So the idea that the Broncos got fleeced or that they don't have ammo or whatever is just ludicrous. I think it's a good trade. I think both sides got a good deal there. I'm skeptical that Seattle can take advantage of those picks, but we'll see. I tried to tell people, I think it was Tom's Watch Bar a couple weeks back. We had a video out there. Every Seattle fan on earth was melting down in the mentions, and I've got a few expletives for those people.
You've summarily retweeted all of them, which was a lot of fun this afternoon. So let's talk about why this happened, all right? And then we'll come back to some more parts of it. Why did Seattle move on from Russell Wilson?
This has been a long time coming. We've talked about this on the radio show quite a bit, but this divorce has been a long time coming. Seattle was trying to peddle Russell Wilson before the last contract extension. And, it's just been a situation where Russ doesn't agree philosophically with what they want to do. What they want to do is ball control, run the ball, dink and dunk offense and take a few deep shots here or there, and that's it. Meanwhile, Russ Wilson is the best deep ball passer in the NFL dating back to 2016 per Next Gen Stats. So Russ, who believes himself to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, believes he's up there with the all-time names, realizes that his productivity is getting hurt playing behind a poor offensive line and a very conservative style of offense, and wanted something that's going to let him cook, let him open it up. And, the Broncos are certainly going to do that. I think that at this point, Seattle realized that, look, we're never going to be in a better position to move Russ. We're never going to get more back for him. This is our optimal leverage point. Let's just go ahead and pull the trigger on this and hope we can figure out this rebuild. They recommitted to Pete Carroll and John Schneider, and you could kind of tell that's the way it was going. When they made that recommitment to them, kind of long-term, that was when it told you, like, hey, Russ is getting moved this offseason. So Broncos kind of had their eye on that for a while. They knew as of last Sunday that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to be back in Green Bay when they got tipped off by somebody. And now, they pivoted to Russ, got everything done. As soon as Aaron Rodgers made the announcement, pulled the trigger.
Yep, and
it was always 1A, 1B. It was always going to be Russ and Rodgers.
No, I know, and it'll be talked about as Russ was playing AL long, and that's
I'm
fine.
Sure
whatever.
That it was always the top choice.
But the reality of it is when you've been listening, if anybody's listening to Broncos Country Tonight, the radio show, we've spent basically all our efforts talking about Rodgers and Wilson as the top 2 guys, and then the dramatic drop-off, not that anybody else with eyes doesn't already know this, but the dramatic drop-off at quality of quarterback from there. And so for the Broncos, who said they wanted to take some swings, they wanted to be aggressive, these are the kinds of moves that you make. So I think that what I came away with immediately as soon as I saw the trade was, holy cow, they didn't have to give up Bradley Chubb, Jerry Jeudy, or Draymond Jones, or any of these top-tier guys you'd like to build around.
Well, I don't think Seattle was in on Chubb, but I think some of the other guys they were kind of interested in and got pivoted off of. I look at this trade, and I was like, that's all Seattle wanted?
They did try to drive up the price.
They did, and they leaked out the Washington thing. Washington did offer him 3 first-rounders. But they didn't want to trade inside the NFC, and Washington wouldn't give up Chase Young. So it was a pretty moot point at that point as to when once that got leaked, they knew, and they were trying to leverage Denver to drive up the price just a little bit more. I think it's a fair deal for everybody involved. It's the price you pay for a franchise quarterback. They got back to the things that they wanted. I don't think this moves the needle for Seattle. They're still the worst team in the NFC West. So, but I think it moves the needle for the Denver Broncos. I think you go from being third or fourth to being second, maybe first, depending on how this offseason shakes off for Kansas City. Yeah,
and again, for Seattle, they were headed towards a little bit of that rebuild like we talked about. You saw a little bit of that looking that way last year. And again, another thing we talked about on Broncos Country Tonight, the radio show, was once we heard that John Schneider and Pete Carroll coming back, it seemed to signify, okay, well, there's a rubber meets the road moment here that's coming. And we said very consistently on the radio show, this is something that still exists. People want to pretend like it's not, but it's definitely still there under the surface. I did wonder, though, because I thought Seattle would have tried to make Russ be more public about how he felt. And it seemed like after the combine or during the combine, when they said they had no intention of trading him, I know the wording was important, and you pointed that out. The wording is important, but that seemed to me to signal that they were hoping that Russ would basically more or less force their hand a little bit publicly.
Well, at that point, it was already done. Like that, at that point, everything was going the way it was going to go. But I tried to tell everybody when that Pete Carroll press conference happened, everybody was like, "Oh, they're not trading Russ." Right? I was like, "That is not what he said." And there is a chasm of difference between we don't intend to trade somebody, which means up your bleeping offer, and we are not trading somebody, which means stop calling.
Which is what happened last year with the Packers
and Aaron Rodgers.
That's right.
And so I was like, there's a world of difference between those two statements. And I try to. There's sometimes where I tell people they're parsing something too much, and sometimes they're not parsing things enough. That's the phrase that we don't intend always means up your offer.
Okay, so none of this can be, of course, official until next week, just for
March 16th.
Yeah. Until just for people that want to cross T's and dot I's, we're a little over a week away. Yeah. Well, but of course, it changes a lot of things, and I think over the next several weeks, months, we're going to be talking about what impact this has on free agency, what impact this has on the draft. Obviously, the Broncos don't have their first pick, 9th overall. They don't have the 40th overall pick this year, so that's going to impact a little bit of what you're trying to do there too. But boy, what a huge day here in Denver. And again, the only thing that it reminds me of course, and I think it's just appropriate, is when Peyton Manning chose to come to Denver. That's the only thing that comes close to this, and that was basically one of the most celebrated days in Broncos history.
Peyton Manning was actually older than Russell Wilson when he got here, too. Russell Wilson's actually younger than Matt Stafford. I was in line getting some food, and somebody said that Russ was too old. He's younger than Matt Stafford. He's 33. He won't even turn 34 until the season's almost over. So I like it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great pick. I think it was a great trade. It's a guy I wanted all along. So I didn't get the coach I wanted, but I like the coach we got. I did get the quarterback I wanted. I'm happy.
There you go. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.